Hi, I'm Matthew Quack. I'm an educator and artist. You are now watching Successpedia Asia. My mother went into shock before I was born, so she nearly passed away when I was still in her womb. Later on, when she was saved, they discovered that I suffered from brain damage on the left part of my brain. So when I grew up, I struggled with the most basic tasks, tying of shoelaces, using dental floss, simple mental sums. My parents knew something was wrong, but they just thought I was very slow. So throughout my schooling years, I was always the target of bullies, and even my teachers looked down on me as well. So it was indeed very trying and traumatic. And I carried on all the way to secondary school, and it was much worse in the army when all my disabilities of not able to coordinate properly and was not able to do simple tasks all came to the forefront. So I was a victim also of much more bullying and much more victimization. So I was a very victimized child, very withdrawn, very insecure, not confident, and I only found out my condition very much later on, halfway through my NS. So basically, I was very unpopular, and it really hurts not to have friends, not to have people who you can hang out with. So I was used to being a lone wolf, a loner throughout my schooling years, and even especially in the army years. But one thing I learned is that education and knowledge alone do not constitute character and the heart of a person. It was in the army that my best friends I discovered were actually those from the PSLE dropouts and those things, and even the loan shark as well in my platoon. And these people were not really educated, but they looked towards people who would look up to them as people, as individuals, as friends. And when they discovered that I treated them as friends, they would say it's 两人讲义气. So they talk about friendship, that friendship was there. So I discovered that the paradox for education, sometimes knowing more doesn't mean you become a better person. And the heart and what you have here in the head are different. So that's why we have all this talk about elitism and social division today. I feel that as a teacher myself, I discovered that many students also suffer from this problem, especially in elite contexts. When you meet with the same people, you're not able to empathize with people who are struggling. My struggle taught me how to empathize. Empathy is about not just saying, "Oh, poor thing, you're so you're so pathetic and so in a bad state." That's because it doesn't mean you actually empathize. It means you sympathize and look down on the person and say, "Poor thing." Empathize means you went through it yourself and you know what it's like to suffer, so you can identify with people who are suffering. That's a different thing, and many of our leaders need to have that kind of quality, because many of the students that we teach may become future leaders of Singapore. And don't we all wish that our leaders to be empathetic as well? So that's one thing I learned about these experiences, empathy. Second thing I learned also is how to be more patient, because by nature I tend to be impatient. So when people had to be patient with me, I appreciated that. And I became a teacher not because I loved teaching at first. I hated my teachers. My teachers at first in secondary school and primary school were very impatient towards me. But I met two good teachers when I was in junior college, and they believed in me as a person, even though I was not doing well. So even though I tried my best, I still kept failing, but they saw the moral effort I put in. And that made a difference because of the treatment I received from them. That's why I decided to become a history teacher, to pay tribute to those teachers who never gave up on me. And therefore, the rest, as they say, is history. I took up history in university, and I became a history educator for about 15 over years, and also taught music as well and English. I taught a whole spectrum of students from normal academic all the way to express, special, A levels, and IB. And that's how I got a whole view of the social landscape in Singapore, from broken families all the way to very privileged families. But one thing I noticed is that there's a dysfunction in our society where the family is becoming more and more detached. So we have students in elite schools where the parents don't know what's going on in the students' life. They come to Parents' Day, they're very surprised what the kid has been up to. And we even have students who even email their parents at home, they don't even talk. So we notice that relationships, the part that defines the meaning of our life, that is what is the anchor that draws us and causes us to have meaning. But that is slowly being taken away because we're looking at KPIs, tangible results. And that's the part that we need to look at the intrinsic and intangibles in life. That's the second lesson I learned through all these experiences. And thirdly, I also learned how to treasure people who never give up on me. For example, my family members, especially my parents, who always told me that character and heart are more important. But at the point of time, I couldn't believe them because who will talk about character and all that for primary school? We will give lip service and say, oh, character important, but more importantly is you get your 4 A stars. More importantly is to get your O-level results, the 10 A1s. So that's the message always run into us from young. Education is first, results are first. Character is good to have as a supplementary. But I would like to suggest you put it the other way around because we put the cart before the horse. You need to have a good character and values first so that if you do get good results, what will you do with the results and the position you receive in society later? Because we know a lot of things that happen in society where there's scandals involving high profile individuals or scholars. And it's because a lot of these things were not nipped in the bud when they were younger. And they got through the system because they were smart, but the essential parts of the character and the heart were not dealt with, but it surfaced very much later. So these things need to be nipped in the bud from young, because these are the intrinsic building blocks of your character and your heart. So that's the third lesson I've learned through all my difficulties. More importantly is you have to be very certain what kind of goal and person you are first. Because what kind of character and values you have will determine the dream that you have later. So if my dream requires me hurting somebody or stepping over somebody to achieve that dream, then I would say that dream may not be worth pursuing. Concentrate more on your what person and character you are first. And if you really care for people, then the dream that you have to help people will be meaningful, and you can go all out to achieve it because you know it will benefit you and others as well. Nothing is beyond your reach if you persevere. For me, I never imagined I could get through all the major examinations. Never did I imagine I'd become a teacher as well for 15 years. I never imagined I would produce 8 solo albums. I never imagined I'd produce a movie, Unbroken, which we produced last year. So all these things were far beyond my wildest dreams, so to speak. But it's because of the inculcation of character, the importance of values, and the conviction that you have from within. That will determine the path that you're going to go and the dreams that you have. And the dreams will be the betterment of others, and more importantly, it must be meaningful. Not just for yourself fulfillment, but also for helping others. And you find that the irony is the more that you give, the happier you are, the more you try to accumulate for yourself. You may be happy for a while, but you become very self-absorbed. And in my line of music and drama, I have seen people becoming self-absorbed and so narcissistic that they become very miserable people. Even when they achieve their dreams, they're still miserable. So attaining your dreams may not mean you're the happiest person in the world because you may not find that meaning. But ironically, learning how to give and sacrifice for others, you find meaning in that, which is very paradoxical. So I want to encourage those with their dreams to find something that's of meaning, that can benefit others. And when you give more of yourself, even if the others will appreciate it, you will find yourself to have that kind of meaning, and that dream will have a certain dimension to it that gives a substance to your life, not just going ahead to achieve a particular goal. So that's my advice to anybody first. Look for the intrinsic, the fundamentals, then concentrate on the extrinsic things later. One thing I learned through all my difficulties in life and trauma, and also through the support I received from people who believed in me, is that the true worth of an individual is not based on what you achieve per se, but what kind of person you are inside that really matters.